and welcome to the newspaper review this morning on Newsbuster TV. And of course, we give you all the news that you need to know and to keep you in the know. And my name is Jennifer Mosu. Welcome to the show. And with me I have...
Good morning, Lagos. Good day, our viewers watching us all over the globe. It's another interesting episode here where we review all our daily newspapers on Newsbuster NGTV. Join us, relax, and find a place to enjoy as we unfold today's daily newspaper. Good morning, my name is Isaac Adeoye.
All right, and straight to the newspaper headlines. We've got a couple of papers spread before us. We've got the Punch, Nigerian Tribune, the Guardian, New Telegraph, and the Daily Sun. And they all have blazing headlines, starting from the Punch. The top story there says, uncover CBN and NPCL mess. Economists groups tell Tinubu special investigator, and the writers there say the president has appointed Oba as a special investigator. The AFCTA, the police, and others to join the probe against the suspended Central Bank of Nigeria's governor, Godwin Emefiele. And the investigators are to go after ex-Buhari appointees, also private individuals hiding government funds. So there is a lot coming out from the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. So these agencies are going to be thoroughly investigated on the orders of the president. From the Nigerian Tribune, same headline, Tinubu orders probe of CBN. And the Guardian has a different header. It says economy, rule of law, foreign policy, security top agenda for nominees, revenue generation from the Telegraph, federal government goes after own assets fraudulently procured, still on the orders of the president, and checking out agency. And the different header is from the Daily Sun. It says NLC adamant on mass action and strike. Those are the major headlines.
Yes, looking from the angle of the CBN, for the federal government probing the CBN and other former dispensations and nominees, I think it has now become a thing of stay in Nigeria. As one government passed out, another one came in. It is usually been of probing each other, knowing the deepings of how the public fund has been managed and thereabouts. I think for me it's a welcome development and for the national interest. Aside that, NLC adamant on mass action strike. Details of that story can be found on page 6 of Daily Sun.
All right, for the NLC strike, as of the updates on that story is that the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, together under the auspices of the trade unions of Nigeria, went to Aso Rock on Friday to have a meeting with the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila. But that meeting was not what it was supposed to be, because there was not a quorum formed to organize that meeting properly and have that parley. So talks broke down, and the Labour faction had to leave. And due to that, the matter is still raising a lot of dust, but Labour insists that they will go on that strike on the 2nd of August 2023, being on Wednesday. They have warned Nigerians to pile up food and all the necessaries at home, so they will not have to suffer during the period of the strike. But the key factor there is, over the time of Joe Ajero, who's the Labour Congress president, there has been not a lot of action coming from Labour when it comes to giving solidarity to other Nigerians, especially when it comes to our daily economics and fighting the market forces. So some people, not my thoughts, some people say he's compromised. He's been compromised from the past governments, and that's why he can't really raise an eyebrow when it comes to dishing out orders or trying to make organizations possible to stand against the government. But we will see how this pans out by Wednesday.
Similarly, from the New Telegraph newspaper, NLC to Nigeria, stop lamenting. Join us on the street on Wednesday. That means that this upcoming Wednesday, we have to see the full action of the joint TUC and NLC, which is the Nigeria Labour Congress thereabout. And for me, Jenny, I think it's time for government at all levels to come into this issue of NLC and TUC to reach an agreement, because if not for the fact that last week Friday, just like you said earlier, there was no one to see as a prominent person on that seat, which will facilitate the meeting to have, which must have owed. But seeing at the picture of what happened at the house, at the villa, when the chief of staff were looking for the other parties, at that point already on their way going out of the villa, since the meeting could not get an edge. And aside that, revenue generation, FG goes after own assets fraudulently procured. That's another interesting story, as we have series of acquired apartments, nominees by federal government, political offices, and all of that, from different dispensation to where we are today, which has resulted to a siphon of public fund, investment of money meant for the masses. And aside that, it's a welcome idea. File motions to stay of execution on 2A Option Road, Ikoyi property. From your home.
All right, and we'll move to the major development across West Africa, especially the Sahel region of Niger, where ECOWAS has been taking insights into the coup that occurred last week, Wednesday, in the capital of Niger, which is Niamey. And the meeting from Sunday night in Abuja, where the ECOWAS head of state met with the chairman and president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Their consensus reached at that meeting was that there is going to be a land-air border closure. The use of force will be used by ECOWAS if necessary. That means troops from other West African states are going to come together and go under the ECOMOG to defend that territory. And also the Nigerians are not relenting. They say that they will not tolerate any external influence or intervention, especially from the ECOWAS region, the European Union, the United States, France, and the United Kingdom, because currently those countries have placed sanctions on them. The Nigerians are actually clamoring to do business, be it war, military expansions and economic expansions with the Russians. Their citizens were seen on the streets chanting to have the Wagner group closing on their country and also waving Russian flags. So what that portends is that at this time, I think Africans are seeing beyond just getting stipends in the name of foreign aid from the West, especially countries like France, UK, and the USA. I think it's time Africans are getting out of that mentality to establish a true democracy, in as much as it was a military coup. But what are the strings that the past president Bazoum was being used to pull to say he was running a democratic government? Was it as democratic as it sounds, and is it as democratic as it looks? So probably the military intervention might have been a better move, but at the end of the day, what entails a true democracy? The ability to move, the ability for the government to be able to trade freely and to utilize the resources in that country. I think that is what truly constitutes a democracy in any way which it comes. So that's the update from Niger and ECOWAS. You can see those stories all over major papers in the Punch. You can get it from page 14 and also from the Nigerian Tribune. You can get those updates on page 11.
And also, you can also get it from page 2 of the New Telegraph this morning. The one thing people keep losing interest on is that once there is coup like that, there is a lot of dividend that they will be deferred from coming into their country. And following the pronouncement of the ECOWAS president and the chairman himself, our own president for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Tinubu, says he has given them the ultimatum of 7 days for them to reinstate the president, the planned coup on. And moving ahead, Tinubu appoints Oba as a special investigator of CBN related entities. I think we've discussed that story initially. Presidential ministerial lists, assembly of recycled anti-democratic politique. Yes, the details of that story can be found on page 4 of New Telegraph this morning. I think the portfolio and the screening exercise will take place today at the National Assembly as discussed here on the New Telegraph newspaper this morning.
Okay, a bit on that. Usually the Senate is meant to sit on Tuesday, but I believe that concession was given for that sitting to hold today so that the process for the screening of the nominees can actually start properly today. We've had reports about some of those nominees actually giving grafts to some senators to be able to be approved. For some senators, they're divided on the issue of screening. Some say that it's going to be business as usual, because those names are already handpicked. That means they're good to go. But for some other senators, they say no, it's going to be an exercise where everybody's properly vetted and checked, security check, political checks, academic qualifications, and everything that comes with it. But what the norm in Nigeria, we know most times when these names come out, the deed is already, it's a done deal already. So what input are these people going to bring in? Because a lot of them are recycled governors. Are they going to bring in anything new, or is it another opportunity to go on with the status quo and keep on doing whatever they know how to do best? We'll see how that pans out at the end of the day. And moving on from that story quickly, we'll be looking at what happened in Yola, the capital of Adamawa State, where there was a rampage over the weekend, mass looting into the warehouses of the Nigerian Emergency Agency and other private warehouses. People were seen carting away essential commodities, foodstuff like rice, other grains, mattresses, a lot of things. I wonder what the mattresses actually were for, but the food I can understand. But a lot of people got into a frenzy, and this made the governor of the state, Umar Fintiri, declare a 24-hour curfew to put some sanity and, of course, to take off hoodlums who had hijacked that process. The looting and the frenzy that occurred, according to reports, is on the hardship people are facing in that state, especially since last month's subsidy removal on petroleum products. But for some residents in the state who we got information from, they say it's been long coming since the COVID events that things have been really slow and have gotten out of hand. So they think they should take the law into their own hands. But we think that it's a good thing that curfew has been imposed to make sure that people are kept in check and things don't go out of hand. And like we have analyzed severally, there should have been enough measures put in place as a palliative to, cushion the effects of the subsidy removal. If this can happen in Yola, I can imagine some other states trying to take a cue from this unrest and replicate such in their states. So the government should really be proactive and listen to the people's demands and cry. Wednesday is coming. We don't want to see that going off on a national scale. So the government, please listen to the people. It's the people who put you there in office, and it's the people's bidding you should do.
Moving ahead, anthrax. That's coming from the New Telegraph newspaper. Lagos identifies, destroys infected animals. That story can be found on page 5 and page 28, respectively, today's newspaper. Also, over 20,000 trafficked Nigerians stranded in Mali, says NAPTIP. As we all know, that yesterday, being Sunday, was known for World Day Against Human Trafficking in person across sub-Saharan desert and across the globe. And NAPTIP is doing all it to do at being the sector that is known for this human trafficking in person and all of that, so as to curb the spread of human trafficking in Africa. Not even in Africa alone, Nigeria as a whole. Let all hands now be on deck to ensure that we people seeking for greener pasture overnight, let's think of what have happened to the people that have gone through this same terrain in the past. What has been the result? Where are they today? What is the futuristic plan for them to have achieved what they want to achieve overnight? And a lot of things need to be put into consideration, looking about the fact that when you get to your destination, is there any assurity of, okay, when you get there, you even get that greener pasture you are looking for? And these people now that we have just been trafficked, the Nigerians stranded in Mali now, we also be like 50-50 chance. Let's put it like that. Because looking at it from the other hand, nobody knows what tomorrow might say, and it usually becomes a government sponsors when it comes to bringing them back to the destination where they left for so many years, for so many couple of months. Where are they starting from? Most of them, when they return like that, most of them can't even identify their homes, which is very pathetic stories. And similarly, Kanu not released, only granted access to person doctor. That's Kanu. Yesterday, Kanu, the leader of the IPOB, released with a personal doctor to see him on a personal ground based on health issue. Details of that story can be found on page 4 and page 5 of the New Telegraph this morning.
All right, I think rounding up, am I right? Okay, I think we still have time for a story. And from the Nigerian Tribune, we see CBN's currency floating policy will kill the naira. That is according to an analyst that should be an economist. He says that the naira being allowed to float is going to make the situation for our currency worse. It will practically kill the naira, and that will mean that the naira will be valueless. And he said that we cannot afford to be under a fixed exchange, but it wouldn't actually be fixed, but it will keep on floating between fluctuations will be between two naira limits and the upper and lower. And he said that this will be narrow enough to eliminate arbitrage. So what this essentially means is we cannot afford to keep our monies, at par with certain currencies at this time, and just determine what the value of our currency will be with any other value that gets thrown on it. So we should actually take time and make these decisions that might totally put our economy in more distress than we are seeing now. A lot of things, of course, are affecting our money and the value. We can see the proposed strike that is coming up. That might even get to worsen the situation. Not that we're making a case for the government, but if that strike takes place, definitely things are going to be crippled. Prices are going to move higher when it comes to things like transportation and food, because you'd have to go the extra mile to get it. People will be off the radar or more or less out of business. So it might cost more to get these things in order. A lot of people, different arms of labor, both from the medical, the general, other groups, have been pleading with the government that it's time you listen to the people. This government is barely 2 months, and it's like the hardships that have occurred in 2 months seem to have surpassed what Nigerians went through in 8 years. We're not saying, things can go wrong, but at the same time, there needs to be a proper avenue for things to be made right. And what is the president actually doing about that? It can't just be all about waiting for ministers. There have to be measures that need to be taken immediately. I mean, it's situations like this that have made over 6 African countries see instability and coups happen in those countries. We're talking about places like Gambia, Sudan, Niger, Chad, Guinea, not Gambia, Chad, and some other countries in the West African region. We wouldn't want Nigeria to go that way. Instability of our government and economy, that's what really topples governments. So I don't think this newly formed government will want to be toppled on account of our people's dissatisfaction and a lot of disgruntled among the people. So let's do the proper thing and keep our democracy and our peace in Nigeria.
Operation Flush. Police arrest 88 traffic robbers, recover pieced drugs in Lagos. That's coming from the page 6 of a New Telegraph this morning. Similarly, NDLA arrest artists, manager, businessman who sells drugs at club.
Yeah, that story made the rounds.
Yeah.
It's all over Lagos. There was massive arrests of people who circulate drugs in some very highbrow nightclubs and lounges all over Lagos. But it's a good thing, this Operation Flush, the NDLEA, all the security agencies seem to be working in tandem and working very actively to rid our society and streets of a lot of vices and crimes. So kudos to them, and we just hope this good work continues and it's not a momentary thing, but something that will stay permanently.
Exactly.
All right, I think this is where we end it. And before we end it, just a quick peek at some other headlines. We see we're set for screening of ministers. So watch out for that from the Senate. And Obey Appeal Court dismiss PDP's petition, Sani tells tribunal, as judgment in Enugu, Guba favors Kaduna governor. And of course, we're all talking about rising costs of living, but several banks have made a step forward to mediate on behalf of their staff. One of them is the United Bank of Africa, UBA, which has improved its staff welfare. You can get that story on page 14 of the Nigerian Tribune. I think Zenith Bank was also involved in
Yes.
So basically that's it on this morning's show. We hope you enjoyed the news reviews, and you can check out more stories we have on our website at www.newsbuster.ng. So just check that out for your daily stories to keep you in the loop of what's going on in Nigeria and of course around the world.
We say a big thank you for all our viewers and followers all over the globe. Let's have your view, your comments, your feedback on any area you felt where maybe a little bit lapses. I remain my humble self, Isaac Habayomi Ajiboye, saying thanks for
All
watching.
right. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.